DVD's recording, and we are here ready to go with the Walking Dead support group. Welcome to episode 3 for us of season 4. My name is Alex Mann. To my left, I have Jason McCarthy. To my right, I've got Keith O'Brien. And as we always do, we go right into our kill count.
Are we going to take 45 minutes to get there?
No, the show will be off the air by then. So.
45 minutes, 9:45 for first kill, which I guess maybe we'll have to start doing that. But then it escalated quickly, as our good friend Ron Burgundy likes to say. And we got 40.
Very good. We actually have a special treat for everybody. Started last year with a tradition where our original gangster, OG Billy, one of the first fans of the show, came in on pre-Halloween and brought us in a pumpkin that looked fantastic, and he's done it again once again for us this year. So if you would, throw the lights and we'll show everybody the pumpkin that Billy carved. And take down the graphic a little bit, and what you'll see is The Walking Dead and a picture of Daryl with his crossbow, and a fantastic job on showing those wings. That looks absolutely awesome. So special thanks to Billy. If you're following us on Twitter, he's Billy Camp.
Yes, Billy. Yeah, Billy Camp.
Billy Camp on Twitter. So thank you very much. Jason, why don't you give us the rundown, since we've talked about some of our fans, why don't you give us the rundown of Twitter and Facebook?
I just want to say a quick hello to some of the fans on Twitter. These three are brand new as of the beginning of the show tonight. Gina Turner, Bree, and Squirrels Need Cars.
Apparently.
Apparently. Allie, Tanya, and Zombie Barbie. And from Facebook.
From April.
April and Justin Jakes, Glenn and Jen Hoey, and Kathy Lindley. Thank you.
Very good. So let's get right into tonight's episode. It was called Infected. That it was painfully obvious why they're calling it Infected. Mm-hmm. The precursor to it told us that it's as one group leaves the prison in search for supplies at a local college, those who must stay deal with losses while preserving what remains. For a little while we were wondering why would they now finally go to a college university, and it turns out that it was a veterinary school on campus, and that the medicines, according to Herschel, and I don't know, I almost want to get a ruling from like a real medical professional on this. Is it the same antibiotics that we get? Because if it is, I'm not too comfortable now going to see my $40 copayment when I can go for $10 and see my dog's vet and get the same flu shot, I guess.
Well, I think it's under the drugs would be the same. I think they're just different names and more expensive for the vet.
Well, I know horse tranquilizers are used at both sides.
Well, I know people want those.
Yeah.
Want those.
But I don't know if they're actually the same tranquilizers that people get. So, as Keith mentioned, this was a slow-moving
Kumbaya episode.
Yeah, there was a little bit of a build-up. So for the first 44 minutes, we were wondering if we were even going to see any kind of walkers taken out. Carl shows restraint, and he just got that gun back, so he's itching to squeeze the trigger.
Well, if Herschel wasn't there, he would have popped off a couple of
rounds. But you know what?
That's why he went, though.
He listened, although he was supposed to stay. He wasn't supposed to go with Herschel, so that was interesting. But now all of a sudden, Herschel's no longer just a veterinarian. He's a shaman going out collecting nuts and berries to bring back to people.
I thought that was
he
weed.
Making an herbal tea?
I thought it was weed.
Huh?
I thought it was weed.
Could have been weed.
Could have been weed.
Why
It's Georgia,
not?
right?
What's the matter at this point?
Yeah.
Right? So, Keith, why don't you give us a quick take on what you thought with the Infected and the rundown of that? What did you think of tonight's episode?
Well, I forget where we went with productions last week because I didn't take my notes home, so I guess that's out the window. But we definitely see them isolating the two groups, which we did talk about last week. It's obviously the outbreak is upon the group, and I'm sure we'll get to it. Last week's ending thing with the 2 kills, the 2 people, Karen and David, or whatever his name is, that didn't stop it. Mm-hmm. So the outbreak's there, and as we talked, they're in the prison and it's concentrated. Even Herschel says that when he goes out with Carl. We're pretty much safer out here than tucked inside the stone walls of the prison, and and they're just getting worse, you know. And then they take everybody and put them in one room, let them breathe the same air over and over again. Those people aren't going to last long.
No.
No.
But you know what, though? They are, in the end, thinning the herd. Because if they're not immune to it, then it doesn't matter if they're in the room with those
Right.
people. So this is almost like a quicker way of speeding it up. I mean, it's very similar to the Black Plague.
Like, yeah.
You know,
Get rid of them.
they would put them
Put
all
everybody
together,
together,
and
right.
whoever didn't die, you know, probably wasn't looked at, you know,
Yeah.
popular anyways. But Jay, what did you think of tonight's episode?
Definitely a double-edged sword. You know, you have your infected outside, and now you have your infected inside. As Herschel said, everything we have been trying to keep out just found its way in. And I think that's probably going to sum up the rest of the season. I think it's just fighting this one particular infection. I don't know if maybe they'll solve it with the people from the college or not, but you know, one way or another, then the inside infection is going to turn into the outside infection. You know, once they start dying, they're going to start turning.
Well, unless they get back. I mean, they're on a run.
Right.
You know, you know, hopefully they don't take this storyline and say, oh, we got to deal with the outbreak, got to deal with the outbreak, got to deal with the outbreak. I mean, we're 3 episodes in, we're 5 episodes from the hiatus. You know, I don't think the mid-season hiatus is going to be everybody gets a shot and everybody's fine.
Right.
Break, back to work. It's not going to end like that. You know, I'm going to assume that they get to the college because, you know, we talked about it in the other room when we were watching the show. College is probably an excellent place to hide in a situation like this. They went to the prison. It was overrun. Obviously, the college is overrun. A lot of kids on that campus.
It was a lot more overrun than
a lot
the prison
more
was.
overrun than the prison.
That straightaway shot that we saw with Daryl and all them.
But
That was like the Boston Marathon
Yeah,
that opened up on the walkers.
But I got to think that anybody that could get into the college, you know, like maybe like they said, maybe it got overlooked. It's a veterinarian hospital. Nobody would have thought there would be good supplies there. But I think there's going to be a group of survivors in the college. You know, when he was playing with the radio, and you said, campus radio.
right.
And I just think that they're going to run into somebody in there that maybe they can bring in, and that'll be good. But I think they're going to run into, you know, or somebody's going to run into them because now they're on foot to the campus.
Right.
Campus radio also implies power. You know,
Exactly.
they got a
Exactly.
Right.
they got a radio running.
If that is the campus
Right.
radio station, and the thing was, a campus radio station is going to have a weaker frequency wattage output, and they were struggling to try and get that signal.
Yeah.
They got the signal as they were getting closer to the station. So you know, I'd say, you know, we're probably on a good path towards that. One of the things that I had mentioned last week, and there was some discussion about it, was that we were kind of disappointed with how the storylines are progressing. It's not as deep. There's certainly good twists, like, you know, who killed Karen and David. But that was, as Alan said on Facebook, by the way, hello Alan, was quickest interrogation ever, and it was. Rick somehow already had the answer, and you know, it was over. And it was way too fast. They're rushing it, and you had found out that Kirkman was supposedly the writer of this one. And if he wrote it, I think he was looking for a paycheck tonight. I'm still waiting for that great undertone storyline, and I haven't seen it. You know, the first 3 seasons we had these great, somewhat dramatic storylines that had a good literature background. And one of the things I would brag about when I watch this show is people are like, well, you watch a show about, you know, the zombies? Absolutely. If you are a fan of literature, you will love this. You will see the storylines in it. And it's just, so far, it's not there for me.
Well, tonight they definitely built the rapport and the relationship between the fans and the group, as far as, you know, drawing everybody, looking at seeing Glenn getting sick after so long. They're making it more intimate for the fans.
Do me a favor. I'm going to completely break character. Chris, don't change that shot. I just want to do this. Stay back. Stay back. Don't bite Jason. Sorry. Thank you. We're playing with our new set that our fans are sending us, so I had to do that. I love that. It's just like literally right over your head, like a screaming child is so mad at you. Okay, so now they're off to Walker University. When do I get my Walker U shirts?
Isn't it like the Super Bowl?
I'm calling dibs right now.
The ads are on right now.
I'm calling dibs right now. Walker University is now my copyright. if I start seeing T-shirts made.
Good luck with that.
But I mean, seriously, when you think of how many walkers, right? They just keep coming to the prison and keep coming to the prison.
Yeah.
They have now driven. What did he say? About 50
He
miles
said 50
away.
miles, yeah.
All right. So now they're 50 miles away. That is the most we have seen
Since Atlanta.
since it. Yeah, I
When-
guess.
when Rick-
I,
when
to
Rick-
me, I don't think we actually saw that many collectively in Atlanta. I think what you saw
No,
was
no. In the first season, when he was on the horse and he didn't know what he was getting into.
Yeah.
He turned the corner and the whole main street there.
tank.
Yeah, but
was-
this
in the
this
tank,
to
there
me
was a lot of
seemed
walkers.
This seemed more than 1,000. This seemed
Yeah,
like
it was
thousands.
like 15, 20,000 co-ed walkers.
And there's
Okay,
there's no
good
way
for
the campus was that big at this point anymore.
There's no way that many kids
So-
would be veterinarians.
Veterinary. Yeah, you're right. No, you called me
way.
on that one.
You know? I'm going to Georgia to be a veterinarian.
the South.
Crap,
It is
Mom
the
and
South.
Dad.
There's
They're
a lot of
drinking.
animals there.
They're having a party. It's live animals.
But I mean, we're pushing at least a year into this apocalypse, right? We know
more than that, 'cause-
Well, at least
yeah,
a
at
year.
least a year.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
ballparking. There's no way this campus was that populated by the walkers anymore. It just
But walkers don't go anywhere unless they're drawn by sound.
okay. So all those walkers at the far end of the campus were drawn by the car coming up.
No
way.
way. I mean, they're just on the street. They're
No way. They're obviously being drawn to that prison by other things than just sound.
Just, yeah.
We know that they'll feed off of the rats and stuff like that. There's another reason why they're moving. I mean, Patrick with his bleeding eyes didn't just stay in that room in the shower. That's the thing. Remember when they walked into the church and there were people still sitting in the pew? Like,
Yeah.
that was odd.
Well,
but
I'm
now
wondering-
the walkers are certainly more proactive about trying to find food.
Right. But you talk about the storyline for as it was brought to us, as we've all seen it for the first 3 seasons. Sooner or later, we know they leave the prison. Maybe this 50-mile run reckoning, they find out, howbeit there's a lot of walkers, that the prison's a better. I mean, the school's a better life.
Or what's coming to the prison is coming from the school.
Right.
And that's something that fence will not hold.
That's right. Will not hold.
And that's the other thing. They have the fence line. Why? Granted, 300 was on tonight, so it's fresh in my head. But why hasn't anyone come up with like a Thermopylae pass? Just funnel them somewhere.
Yeah. No, they just come up with a little machine that makes noise to draw
Right.
them so they can come around the sides. Just you're right. Just funnel them in. Although that didn't work in World War Z.
Find a clip.
It worked for a little bit
Worked for
until
a
they
little
started
bit.
walking on each other. But
Bigger walls.
We're talking
That-
a
we're
whole
not the
different
walking
zombie.
Z
Bigger
show.
one. No,
Yeah.
we're not the walking. We hated that.
So,
TV.
you know what? One of the things that we used to do last season, and somehow we forgot it this season, and I apologize. And Danka, to our friend Sandra in Germany, for reminding me that
For those of you who don't know, that was German. Thank you.
Was that the Germany?
you think we have absolutely
you may not know.
no control in tonight's show.
Was that the Germany?
We've been doing so well until tonight's episode. What'd you do? Did you Google translate that when I said it? Did you with your universal communicator?
I'm telling you that.
No,
40
I
minutes,
read
that
this
40
word.
minutes killed us.
What we
Except
have
for character building
I know, we're
and
very
a little
disappointed.
Hamlet for Alex.
But a piece that we lost out that we really need to bring back is our favorite kill of the night, and I have a feeling we're all going to vote for the same one.
Who brought that back?
Sandra did.
Where's she from?
Germany.
Germany.
And what does she speak?
German.
I have no idea.
That's why you're the hot one. We didn't hire you for
My
your
brains.
for your brains.
Right, got it.
We needed a good-looking guy on the panel because Keith and I just don't.
Glad
cut
there's
it.
no camera in the control room right now.
Okay,
I'm glad it's
so
another. Yeah, never mind. I'll
So
save it for
since-
what I've learned.
since I just hammered you, I'll let you call favorite kill of the night first. What do you
I don't know. I think I may have something different. It was kind of a series of kills. It was it's Tyrese's whack-a-mole. I mean,
Fair enough. I didn't think you were going to go with whack-a-mole, but
it was about
we'll go
30
with-
shots right in the head, every single
Yeah.
one of them. It was great.
So, Keith, what was your favorite kill of the night?
Unfortunately, it was Tyrese
Was it?
whack-a-mole.
Really?
I wrote Tyrese, but I wrote the Tyrese melee, and then I just had a question because we talked about this in the room that when Tyrese was at Woodbury, he didn't want to work the wall. Like you said, he didn't want to work the wall and shoot anybody. And he's going on a melee with with a hammer. Has Tyrese shot anybody with a firearm?
He's
No.
a bad shot, though.
No, yes, he did on the wall.
did
In
finally on
Woodbury,
the-
he was trying to.
he-
He was trying to hit. So he has.
But even then, he was missing. But did he finally get off a shot, or is he just? Is he?
You
just
know what?
half-
That's what we'll ask. We'll watch. We'll ask the viewers.
We want to know.
Somebody
get on
Does
that.
anyone remember if Tyrese has actually killed anybody with a
I
firearm?
think. I mean, he was on the wall, and I think he finally did when Sandra was there practicing, said he finally got one. But it seems that he's a lot happier with a melee weapon. Hammer, he's got a hammer. I don't know. I think, did he have an axe?
Thank you, Vinny. Vinny now
Don't
says
know.
that we're an episode of Seinfeld. So you're Seinfeld by physical characteristics. You're Costanza.
Just go for it, yeah.
And that means I'm.
That means you're Elaine.
I'm I didn't
Get
get it
that
out
out
fast
quick.
enough. Yeah. All right. Very good. Let's get this back on the road. So my favorite kill, which
Chris,
is
you busting through the door?
my favorite kill is close to Tyrese. It was the tire kill where Daryl backed up and he had
the skid mark.
The skid, yeah, Skidmore. He was on his way to Skidmore College.
Brought to you
But that
by
was-
Michelin.
all right, and since that was my favorite kill, all right, let's go back. We're now 4 seasons in. If we're accepting that this is about a year, there should not really be a car newer than at least 2011, and that had to have been a 2013, if not the 2014 Charger.
No, I don't think so.
Absolutely.
Was it?
Yes. And
I
you know
don't
what?
know about
And you know what? I think that just goes back to the commercial that we've all been laughing at about I've got a stick.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you've got that.
I want that
Hyundai
car.
commercial,
You know,
yeah.
I think they're just trying to keep up. I mean, it's I'm not saying they're jumping the shark, but I was disappointed. Can we at least keep it somewhat consistent? Can you keep later model cars when they're driving around?
Well, how long do you
Billy in
think
the
it'll
control
be?
room, Billy in the control room says Tyrese can't hit the broadside of the barn, so he uses the melee weapon.
Fair enough.
Fair enough.
How long do you think it is till we see a car like that? Till someone decides to put blades on the tires?
So,
As they're-
When
as
the
they're
governor
driving
comes
out.
back, I'll
Come
bet.
down to my garage.
Well, the
The
governor,
governor
will use
comes
it on
back
humans.
with Rodriguez and the other dude.
Yeah,
I'll bet
he's building the Hyundai weapon,
Yeah.
the Hyundai car.
His intent is to use it on humans, not walkers.
he'll just use it whenever he can. Who knows?
Dude, you can't go driving around that Hyundai. It never got Febreze from the Shane and Andrea incident.
Okay,
God.
so anyways, yeah, and by the way, whoever won that, what are you doing with it? I'm just curious. What was your favorite moment from tonight's show, Keith?
Favorite moment from tonight's show.
See, the beauty of this is we have a script, and
I got it written
supposed,
down.
we're supposed to take notes, and you're like,
Got it.
you
My
just
favorite
pulled a
moment.
Cindy Brady
I
on
hate,
us.
I hate both Cindy Brady. I got Herschel and Carl interacting in the hall and then moving into the woods because that was the beginning of, like you said, we spent 40 minutes doing a little character building slash Snorefest. But, Herschel and Carl had that interaction last year in the woods when he thought he was a cold-blooded killer. And now he's in the hall like, I'm going on the woods, not alone. I'll tell my dad. Go tell your dad. By the time I'm
Right.
gone, I'm gonna be out there. And he goes, and he insists he comes with them. And he goes, come on, Carl, come down. And then they're out in the woods. He reasons with them and says, you don't have to do that, Carl. So it was a good.
But he was also impressed with Carl.
He was impressed.
He
'cause-
said,
'cause-
you've
'cause
become
he
a
held
lot more
back.
responsible.
You're more responsible. And the hat's back.
The hat is,
Hat's
and
back.
a lot of people did notice that
Yes,
the hat is
and
back.
the hat is back. So that's part of my favorite moment. The hat is back.
Jay, what was your favorite part?
I've always liked Herschel, but tonight I connected with him more with his "I Have a Dream" speech. I'm trying to think of the best way to put it, but
It's a good way to put it.
Well,
It
you
was-
have a job.
yeah.
That's what that it was.
Yeah.
You have a job speech.
I have a job speech. That's
Right.
right. Just the way that he put it, and the way that he talked to both Rick and Maggie was just, I think it was more of a message to them as well as an explanation.
Right. That is, and you know what? I think they're building up that something's going to happen. We've had some predictions that Maggie and Glenn are going to get married. It'll be Herschel who oversees it, but that's going to be his last gas. That may be true. I thought that was a halfway decent theory, and we saw him get coughed on tonight, and and that was an interesting blood exposure. So,
yeah.
and he just kind of went. I knew this was eventually going to happen. So yeah, it is what it is. For me, my favorite part of the night was the interaction between Tyrese and Carol, where we all instantly knew, and Twitter knew, Facebook knew, we all knew when she said, "What happened? I'm sorry." She didn't say that was horrible. She said she was sorry, and we all went, "Oh, Carol's a killer," and that it just became really obvious. And then when he walked away, and she started, throwing the water around and knocking over the barrels, that to me was probably, the best scene of the night, where it was just she was doing everything she could to kind of keep it in check, and then she was left alone with him. She was scared he was there. And then she kind of didn't really have a good poker face, in our opinion.
Yeah.
Instantly we knew, and that was like, and it turns out she did kill them, that they weren't dead yet.
And she killed him.
We had figured that they had turned, and they hadn't. She just walked in, bang, and it was over.
Did you see Tyrese's reaction when she said that too? There seemed to, and I don't, maybe I'm misremembering, but there seemed to be some hesitation on his part. When
He did
she
seem to
said-
be thrown by it, but you know what? I think, I think he might have been thrown a little bit by her kindness in it, and Rick and Daryl both agreed, and they both were the typical male, I want to kill him too kind of concept, whereas in Carol, she actually felt his emotion, and she shared it with him. So I think that might have been the trigger, but I think somewhere in the back of his head, he did the math,
Yeah.
and he just hasn't solved the equation yet. We didn't really have any favorite new characters. We're seeing a little bit more of the girls that Carol's taking care of.
We had.
We saw a lot more of the medic tonight.
Yep. We had Moss Girl and Bear Trap Leg.
Yep.
That's what I wrote down. That's not really new characters, but they're new.
Well, they didn't die today.
They didn't die today,
So-
so
I wrote down the new and
she's going to be
improved
walking
Tyrese.
around going clickety clank, clickety clank, clickety clank.
Jay, what are you throwing out
I
there?
wrote down the new and improved Tyrese.
The new one, yeah.
Yeah, I mean he's.
And the new Rick.
It seemed to be his coming out party tonight.
Yeah,
and
that was
I had a feeling it would be.
his come from behind and sneak up on the walkers and kill one, and you know what? Not for nothing.
I wondered if he had.
How is it
but did he
Daryl's
have-
crossbow
did he
has
have the-
never gone through the walker's head?
Yeah.
It goes in and it comes out, but it always stops just enough.
So he can recover it.
But it should have gone through and hit Tyrese.
He should have definitely
He
gone
has
through.
never had an accidental hit. He has always just hit thunk and it stops.
It's a show.
I know it's a show,
Sure.
but I'm just saying.
But I'm wondering if Tyrese had just a walker by the back of the neck and he was using it, to
As cover?
just cover. And then the last minute,
It's been done before.
it has been.
It has been done before.
Sean was very impressed.
I'm sure.
So and we talked a little bit about this tonight, but last week we did discuss the change of how the story development has been going on. It seems to be focusing a lot more on less on this deeper storyline and more on these special effects. And tonight you called it right away at that campus where you said that's so CG. Those aren't even real walkers in the background. And they're never going to get that many. I mean that cost would have been prohibitive, and I understand that, but. And oddly enough, after we finished that discussion, there was an article like the next day about that they really kind of stopped doing that, like what we were looking for. So once again, we're right on the pulse of what other fans are talking about. But it was one of those things where tonight there was a little bit of story, there's a little bit of drama, but they, I don't know. Is it there yet for you? Are you seeing it? Because you're the one who thought Kirkman had done some writing on this one. So what's your take?
That's what I was led to believe, but looking at it, it doesn't seem like he wrote it. It doesn't seem like his style. But as far as getting back to story, it's going to take more than one episode.
Right.
They're not going to be able to just shove it all into one because it's going to have the complete opposite effect of what they want. They're going to lose everyone's interest.
Well, I don't know. Isn't it the storyline that got their interest?
Right, but to bring it all back at once, it's trying to cram it down everyone's throat. I don't think it'll work.
Well, the one thing that I think that redeemed the show for at least half of the fan base for the Dead was Rick taking off his shirt. The women went nuts last week over that, and that was the thing. It's are we going to go? And I know you girls want to see Rick and Daryl take off their shirts, and you want to see Daryl and Carol give a kiss. All right, fine, I'm all for it, but let's get back to some of the storyline here.
Right.
Keith, what are you thinking on the storylines? Are you happy with the increase on the effects, or?
Yeah, I mean, I am. I mean, I see the story development. I think once I had said that if this is going to be like most cable shows that we see now, that they get 5, 6, 7 episodes, and then they know that, like AMC just did 5 episodes of Breaking Bad, they get to a point where it's so saturated they don't want to do it anymore. And we know that there's a Walking Dead spin-off coming. So my point is they deviate from the original storyline in the comic book and just make it their own. But like I just talked earlier, it seems like we know they're going to leave the prison based on the comic book, as comic book people will tell you. So, I just think that they're kind of like in between.
Right.
They're going back and forth. I mean, they did a lot of character building today during the show. That was one of the things like I said, it took a while to get going, but they did do a lot of character building. You got Glenn and Maggie having issues. You got Herschel having issues. You got Rick, Tyrese, and Daryl having issues.
Right.
Tyrese having issues.
But they're all having issues, but we haven't really gotten any good scenes out of
scenes
it.
out of it. No. So it's all blah blah blah. I'm just wondering if we're into what are we, season 4?
Season four.
We're into season 4 of a good show, and are we going to deviate from the storyline for ratings?
I totally think they are.
And that's my
I
worst.
think they've
love the
misjudged
show.
why people are watching
yeah,
this show.
they're misjudging why people love the show. They're great fans of the show. They enjoy the comic books, but they're into a season. They're into season 4. They want to get to season 7. And as we know, the writer wrote the show. And if that's the case, this was not a season 1, season 2 episode. The farm. Everybody. We were talking about. So. They're definitely, if they're focusing on the ratings, then this show has taken a different turn. Where this is just 16 episodes of enjoy it, zombies, effects, kill them, blah blah, death, dismemberment. New characters, old characters, and as we all know, old characters are not off the hook. Anybody's expendable in the
Right.
Walking Dead writing.
Well, Kirk, who's watching at home, sent in a message in response to my question about why the bolt isn't going right through the heads. He says it's only on a 15-pull draw, so, all right, fine. We'll go with that, I guess. I think it's cheesy that an arrow hasn't still gone completely through their heads when they break like a Cadbury egg.
Right. If you can crush a skull with your foot, I guarantee you a crossbow will rip right through.
Right.
Or a Subaru trunk.
No, when I can get my hands on a crossbow, we can have a field test.
I have one.
That doesn't count.
So, and another thing that we are bringing back tonight is the line of the night. So, since Jason, you'll remember that, what to you was the line of the night?
To me, it was Daryl's. It was, I can't remember exactly. It was about halfway through. Daryl said, "Every time we go out there, sooner or later, we run," and that was exactly what happened.
And you said it in there. He goes, sooner or later, we
Yeah.
run. You're right. Keith, what about you?
I think this was before that we all realized that Carol was, did the killing. She said to Rick, "There's not many of us left," and I'm wondering, is she referring to the new group? Is she referring to the old group? But it was,
point.
and again, it all builds to the whole character building. It was, I wasn't sleeping. It was a sleeper episode, but I wasn't sleeping, and that was before we realized that, oh my God, Carol did the killing, took out David and Karen.
It was like 45 minutes in, we had our first kill, and I
Yep.
think 50 minutes in, we had our last kill. And we had 40-something kills.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
it was, it
40
was a
something
stretch. For me, I had two. One was from Daryl, where and I can't remember his name right now, but the medic says, "Well, do you really
Bob.
need me?" And he goes, "What's
Yeah.
this say?"
What's this say?
And he goes, "Tetrahydroline." He goes, "Yep, I need you."
Which is penicillin in the real world.
Right? So he's like, "Oh, okay, fine, you need me."
Yeah, you need me.
Um,
In the
I believe his
two-legged
name
world.
was Bob, by the way.
Is it Bob? Okay. But realistically, and I'm not promoting Toyota or whoever, but it was. I love that commercial. I just think, being a fan of Sons of Anarchy, watching him, knowing who he is Galen on that show,
Yep.
trying to be a tough guy with this, over the top zombie apocalypse car is just, to me, that's funny. So I'm enjoying that. And another topic that came up, and this happens from time to time in shows and movies, and Chris in our production room had noticed this. Rick had no scar from when he had been shot.
But you can't have scars when you take the shirt off.
Right.
Why not?
Because the women for rating.
It
No,
takes
it
away
wouldn't
from
have
the
mattered. That's,
overall package.
I think, it was one of those things that they kind of forgot that Rick has been shot. Rick has had some pretty good injuries through
It's a
this show.
gaff,
He
gaff
really
goof.
should have.
Gaff goof.
Right,
It'll be
and-
on IMDb tomorrow.
And it's probably on IMDb right now. And Billy, who's watching in the control room, sent in, why just go to the college? Why not go to a nursing home? There's going to be meds there. And if there's walkers there, they're old walkers.
I think I can answer that.
Tripping on
because
walkers.
The only
Right.
reason they know the college is there is because of Herschel. They may not know where a nursing home is.
I thought the farm was a nursing home.
Okay, let's go with Oh, one of the other points that we brought up before we start looking at wrapping up was they walk into the infirmary or their isolation room. Nobody's locking doors. Somebody's like got the shakes. Another person's spitting up blood. The one door that was locked was on a walker, but everybody in there has the potential to become a walker, and there's not a door closed.
No.
Well,
why aren't you closing doors?
There was one that had turned, and he was in a cage.
He was already
He was already in,
the
but
cell.
that door was closed. But that was the only one that's closed. Everyone in there has the potential of becoming a walker.
Yeah.
Right,
And
but
no
then-
one's got a door closed.
But Carol put him in a room and she closed the door.
Right,
But-
but
She
didn't
closed,
lock
the
it.
when-
she closed the main door to the cell block.
When Sasha went in, it was everything was open except for the one walker. I mean, and there was another point that got brought up was in the graveyard. Patrick's eyeglasses were hanging there, and there was a gun hanging. We're watching Glenn at first dig in the grave. We're like, why is the gun there?
Yeah.
And then somebody started toting the theory that maybe this is mementos left
Yeah.
as a grave marker. So I'm curious to know what you at home think. Do you guys think this is grave markers, or was that gun left there so that people, if you're in the graveyard and need to get a weapon, it's there? Obviously, because a walker's not going to pick it up. So the way we wrap up every show before we say goodnight is, what did we learn tonight? So Keith, what did you learn tonight?
What did I learned, I posted on Facebook earlier that Carol's the cleaner.
Charles, and you know what?
She's not as good as the wolf. Not as good as the wolf.
And Vinny at home said that she's the new Harvey Keitel of this group.
Yeah, and he commented on that. And then what did we learn tonight from Billy, the pumpkin carver guy? We're going to go with the pumpkin carver guy. What did I learn tonight? Cover your mouth when you cough. So that's from Billy. And did I just
A
get
geriatric walker is called a crawler.
Yeah.
I love the real-time reaction. Thank you, folks. Jason, what have you learned tonight?
Two things I learned tonight. One, the only thing that can take out Tyrese is Rick. Because there was about 40 walkers that couldn't take him down. And irony is never dead. When you think about it, the cell block A is where they were isolating all of the people that are dying. Cell block A is also known as death row.
Yeah, and they did
I know
mention
this
that last
one.
week. Right.
Because we didn't get much out of the radio station, my son just texted in, Jonathan, I know you're watching, so he's texted in. He thinks that the voice on the radio could be like a marker or a precautionary, like a repeat.
Yeah.
'Cause we
Oh,
didn't
like
really
a
hear
public
him.
service
like
announcement?
like a PSA marker.
Yeah. But it almost,
or
I thought I
precautionary.
heard the voice saying, "Is there anybody alive
Is
out
there
there?"
anybody alive out there? But
Yeah,
that could-
and that goes. We saw that really in 28 days later.
Yeah, 28 days later,
Right.
which it could be a marker. So
Yeah, that there is a good chance for that. That's a good point. We didn't pick up on that. So for me, I learned two things tonight. The first one is Glenn and Maggie won't have sex in the graveyard. It's the only place they won't have sex,
They won't
apparently.
come near each other.
Yeah, apparently Maggie's not that much of a freak, and Glenn is not that horny. Because those two have pretty
He's in
much
a hole.
they have bumped. They had sex in the hole. They've had sex in a hallway.
but he's sick.
He wasn't sick then.
Can we put that to a poll? Have you
well,
ever
I'm
been
just
sick?
saying.
No,
I'm just saying.
that's not good.
So to me, that's
not going.
good.
That's not
Anywhere
gonna-
That's
that's
one.
not going to finish well.
But then the other thing I've learned is that no matter what, a sharp stick is really the envy of everyone killing zombies, even the guys with the cool cars. So,
I'll definitely have a sharp stick with me.
yeah, I know. Walk softly and carry a sharpened stick is the new
Sharpened
phrase. So once again, thank you for watching last week's views on YouTube. Were astronomical for us. We don't usually break like around 50 outside of here. Hit 130 plus, I think, at this point.
Yep.
So on behalf of the hot guy Jason McCarthy, to my right,
I have one more
Keith,
and I have
Go
one more
ahead.
thing. No, I have one more thing.
okay, Keith O'Brien, and myself, Alex Elaine Bennis-Mann. I'd
There you
like to toss it over to Keith for the final word, I guess.
I'd just like to point out that at the end of The Walking Dead tonight, nobody was obstructed.
For those of you who don't
And
know,
if they were, that would have been a bad call.
we're
Would've been a
outside
good
of
call.
Boston. So once again, thank you all for watching. Thank you for joining us on Facebook and Twitter and catching us on YouTube. And for all our fans who just really make this so much more fun, thank you very much. Have a good night. And until next Sunday, we'll see you then.
Good night.
Good night.